Hi everyone. Today's project is super simple, super quick, and you can definitely do it with air dry clay. You don't have to do it with pottery clay, although it probably isn't going to give you the same sound effect that pottery clay will give you, but I think the overall aesthetic would definitely be the same if you did it with air dry clay. But today we're going to be making little mushroom wind chimes. But they aren't going to be hanging wind chimes. They're going to be stand-up wind chimes that you can put in your plant pot. You can put them at your front door, on your garden table, on your deck table, anything like that. Or just in your house, and if you just want to walk by and ting them. That's probably what I'm going to do. Anyway, that's what we're making today. I won't lie, I originally saw this on Pinterest. I wasn't able to find the original artist, but I definitely saw them and I was like, hey, I want to play with those. So that's what we're doing today. And I also thought that this would be a really good opportunity for me to play with bead glazes some more, because these are purely decorative. And I think that's the problem when people see glazes like bead glazes or gloop or crawls or anything like that, is that you just don't know where to use them because they're not dinnerware safe. They're not toxic. They're lead free. But they're just not dinnerware safe because of the texture that they make. So I thought this would be a really fun opportunity to play some more with bead glazes, and I think they'll make the mushrooms look really cool with that effect. So that's what we're doing today. So let's get started. I'm gonna bring you over so you can see exactly how I'm going to make my little mushroom wind chimes. So essentially what we're gonna do is we're basically creating a pinch pot. Now I'm gonna make two. So you just want to make sure you're wedged good, just like with everything in pottery clay especially. Air dry clay is a little bit different, I think. I don't work with it too often, but you can make a pinch pot just the same with air dry clay as you can pottery clay. So I am also not a pinch pot expert, but here are the things that I have learned. So you could definitely make these mushrooms smooth. You could roll them out and you could create a cone, but I want that not smooth texture. I want them to have that like the bumpy surface. So basically all you're gonna need for this project is your clay. You might want to sponge in some water if you do want to have things smooth, but that's pretty much it. You pretty much just need the clay for this part of the project anyway. So you're going to start with a ball of clay, whatever size you want. I have not measured any of these, but you just want to start with a ball of clay, and you just want to kind of put your thumb in the middle like that. And then you're going to take your pointer finger and you're just going to go clockwise, and you're going to start pinching your thumb and your pointer finger together. And I like to push down when I'm doing it. And again, like I said, I'm not a pinch pot expert, but if you don't do it evenly, you're gonna have weird thickness on all your walls, and you're not gonna have an even look. So anyway, you just keep going and you keep pulling and pinching with your thumb and your finger. And as long as you keep going in a circular motion, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, whichever hand you're using, you should have pretty good control and you should be able to create a nice shape. Now, once you get as far up as you want on the inside, then just start coming clockwise down. And same thing, pulling and pinching, not like pulling, but just creating that downward pressure with your fingers. Now, another tip that you'll want is, because you want these to sit on a stick, you will want to have some weight at the top and you want to have weight at the bottom. So you don't want to make these super thin, but you don't want to make them super thick. So you got to have, you need to find a balance in between, one that will create stability, that when it is tinging on, because this is essentially what we're making. We're going to make a little that ting tangles like this on its base. Like it's just gonna sit on top of a base and then it'll ting tang. Hopefully that makes sense. It'll make sense when we're finished. And then when you get to a certain point, just go back in and just keep kind of finessing it until you get what you want. But like I said, just keep remembering that if you go in a circular motion, your walls will stay even and your shape will stay even as well. And use this hand for support so that you can keep it even. Now, I also am not caring that my bottom is not perfect. My bottom is not perfect and I don't care. I'm fine with it not being perfect. I just want that cone shape, and you can go in after like I said, just finesse however you want it to look. But as you can tell, my walls are pretty even. And that's basically what you want the inside to look like. You want to have a nice spot for your base to sit so that it'll wiggle. But you want to have enough weight and enough stability with the piece itself. And remember, clay is wet. It feels heavier when it's wet than when it's dry. And then if you have any cracking, go in and smooth it out and then go in with your sponge. Like I have a little bit of cracking there. Just go in and smooth it out. And like I said, you could cut the bottom to make it nice and even. You could like make sure that it's nice and smooth. I don't want it to look super smooth. I want it to have that organic shape. So I'm going to keep it like that. And obviously the more weight you use to create the top is how big your mushroom is going to be. And you could like flute the bottom, and you could create different textures and things like that on the bottom. I'm not going to do that, but you definitely could. You could make it look like a petal. Yeah, there's tons of different possibilities that you could do with it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mushroom. They could just be like just little standing wind chimes. So then all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my sponge. I'm gonna go in here, clean it up, make sure any of the places that I smoothed out that had cracks has a little bit of moisture. There we go. And like I said, I want to leave the texture and not make it perfect. And that's that. Like, see, as you can see, mine's definitely not perfect, but I'm not upset about it. And if you want to make it perfect, like all I'm going to do is I'll just pull this down a bit. And there we go. Pretty much perfect. So that's that. I'm going to do one more, and then I will bring you back and I will show you how to make the base. So we have a little, a medium, and a large. I didn't mention this before, but the tops are going to be wheat clay, and then the bottoms are going to be speckle, and I'm not going to glaze the bottoms. They're going to stay as raw clay. So you could use an extruder for this. Sorry, my camera might shake a bit. But I'm just using my hands because I don't mind if they are not even. I don't mind that at all. So the biggest thing to remember with these bases is that they need to be sturdy enough to withstand this tinging against them. But they also need to be sturdy enough to hold the whole weight of the piece that sits on top and ting across both sides. So keep that in mind when you're making them. Don't make them super thin. And I got a really good comment about rolling out coils with your hands. It was quite some time ago, but it has been a game changer. And it basically, because all my coils were coming out like rectangles instead of circles. And the comment was push and roll back nice, and push and roll back nice, and push and roll back nice. So then that way it keeps your weight even and your pieces stay in the coil shape. So great tip. I cannot remember who did it, but if you're watching again, you know who you are, and I appreciate you very much because that's such a very helpful hint or such a very helpful trick. But you can make these as tall or as short as you want, as long as, so like this one is this long. This is as long as this piece. So it goes all the way up to the top. So then you have to remember you're sticking it inside some soil. So if you like, that is more than long enough in my opinion. And all I'm going to do with this now is just even out the end. Well, that's a little bit too, I don't want to make it like pointy because then, but I just want to make it kind of just like that. And like I said, I don't want, I don't want them to be super thin, but I definitely don't want them to be too thick because then they'll look weird. But I think this should be good. So then we just have the big one and then the little one. And I definitely don't want them to be like too tall. Like that might be too tall. No, I don't think so. Maybe not. Plus, you always can push them farther down into the ground. I'd rather make them, I guess, too tall than too small. So yeah, I just want to make sure that I have a cute little end for the top and for the bottom, so that you can push it into the dirt and it sits nice, and there we go. Now I'm going to cover these and I'm going to let them sit for a while, and then when they are probably a little bit more than leather hard or even bone dry, I'll come back and I'll show you a couple different things about what we're going to do, because I'm definitely going to try some with underglaze, or I'm going to paint a couple with underglaze before I throw them in the bin. So I do have some other ones that I've already made that are a lot drier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the couple that I'm going to, or what I'm going to do before I throw them in the bisque. So these ones are bone dry, which I probably waited a little bit too long, but it's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 sets. I made, I think, 4 or 5 sets of 3. So 2 of them are going to get underglazes so that they can have the full texture on the outside with the bee glazes. And then the rest of them, I want to do some with Celadon and some with regular glaze, just to kind of see how they mesh and they move, and just to play around a little bit more. So all I'm going to do, I'm using Mako's Fundamental Underglazes, and I'm going to use King's Blue and Dragon's Red, or Dragon Red, and I'm going to do 2 pretty good coats on each one of these. And because it's underglaze, it won't stick to the shelf, so I am going to go all the way under. Like, as in, I'm going to put right here. On the other ones where you have to be able to see everything, like where I'm going to use like glaze, obviously you aren't going to be able to do that. But that's the beauty of underglaze, is that you can do stuff like that. And you, like, I mean, I guess you probably could put this on after the bisque and then put the bead glaze over top, but my only thought with that would be is that it wouldn't adhere properly and the beads wouldn't form properly. That's the only thing that I would think would maybe happen if you did it the other way. But by all means, if you've done that, then definitely go ahead if you know that it works. I just don't know that it would work like that, so I'm not going to do it like that. And I'm just going to do 2 pretty thick coats. I'm not going to do 3. It has, because this is a light colored clay, they usually have pretty good coverage, or I find that they have pretty good okay coverage. So I'm just going to do that with the blue, and then we're going to get these guys in the bisque and we're going to fire to cone 04, and then I'll bring you back and I'll show you how we're going to glaze the rest of the mushrooms. So I decided to voice record this part because I thought it'd be a little bit easier and probably speed up the process a little bit. So after these came out of the bisque, I decided that the red ones were going to look like the toadstool type of mushrooms. So I went straight in with the white bead glaze and I did 4 coats of bead glaze. Now I know that seems like a lot, but like I've mentioned in my other bead glaze videos, bead glaze needs to be pretty thick for you to get a prominent amount of beads, or for the glaze to like separate to create that bead look effect. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind, is thick is not bad with bead glazes, and they are quite stable, but I didn't want to go all the way to the very bottom because it is still glaze. So I did, like I said, 4 pretty thick coats on each of these red mushrooms, and then I jumped on to the next color. I continued on with the straight bead glaze for this next color, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to try mixing glazes, like mixing 2 bead glazes to see if it would create like a new color. Just like if you layer 2 glazes, sometimes they create like this different color. So that's kind of what I wanted to do with this, is just see if they changed color or if they just separated, or yeah, just kind of see what they did. So I have the original ritual glazes. I still have some of those left. So I took the yellow bead glaze that I have from that, and I did 2 coats of the yellow, and then I moved on to the next color, which was the blue bead glaze. So I did 2 coats of the yellow, and then I went straight in with the blue bead glaze, and I did 2 coats of that as well. So I'm kind of excited to see how these are going to turn out, because I've never layered them. I've done like a little overlap before. Like in my original bead glaze video, I did like a little ombre type of situation, but I've never totally layered them. So it'll be interesting to see how these come out. Then I started working on the mushrooms that were going to have celadons as their base. So I did 2 sets of these. I did 1 set of snow, so Amico snow, and I did 3 coats of Amico snow. And then on the other set, I did 3 coats of Amico's Snapdragon celadon. I didn't show that in the video, but I did 1 set snow and 1 set with Snapdragon, and then I'm gonna put bead glaze over top of that, because I believe, and if I am incorrect, please drop it down in the comments, but I believe that if you put something like a celadon on and then you layer the bead glazes on top, they almost flatten out, and that makes them a little bit more dinnerware safe, or it does make them dinnerware safe. I could be wrong, but I am like 98% sure that I've read that somewhere or I saw it on the Mako site. I'm not sure. But I do know that they flatten out and they create a really smooth surface. And I've never tried it before, so I am interested to see how it turns out. But yeah, I did 3 with snow and 3 with Amico's Snapdragon. And then after those were dry, so I did wait until they were dry. Then I went in on the snow. I put the turquoise bead glaze. Now, because I've never done this before, I did err on the side of caution. Even though I know celadons are very stable, as well as the bead glazes are stable, I didn't know how they were going to react with each other. So what I did was I did like 2.5 coats. So I did 2 full coats of the bead glaze on the whole amount, and then I did about basically on the top, halfway down, I did a 3rd coat. So that's where I'm calling like 2.5 coats, I guess, because I wasn't sure if it would run or if it would move or anything like that. So I did err on the side of caution. So that was for the snow, and for the Snapdragon one, I put the pastel blue bead glaze on top. But again, I didn't film that one because I thought the process is exactly the same as you're seeing right now. So I thought you don't need to see it twice. And then the very last thing that I did, the very last set that I did, I dipped my toe in Frozen Pond. I am so excited. I have a whole video planned for this technique because this is the very first time I'm doing it is on these mushrooms. I have never tried it before, so I am super excited to see how these turn out. But anyway, all I did was I had these little sponges. I took running hot chowder and I put, I'm going to say like 2 and a little bit. So I did 2 thin coats, and then I went back and I was like, I didn't think that was enough. So I put a little bit extra as like a 3rd coat for dots on this set of mushrooms. Like I said, I've never used running hot chowder before, so I didn't really know how much it was actually going to run. And yeah, so I erred on the side of caution. And after I was done with the running hot chowder, I went straight in with textured autumn, and I did 2 coats of textured autumn, and it is spectrum again, so 2 coats is more than enough usually with spectrum. And I did err on the side of caution once again because this is going right on my kiln shelf, so I didn't want to go too close to the bottom again because I didn't know how much the running hot chowder was going to really run. So I left a little space on the bottom, not a whole bunch, but I'm pretty familiar with spectrum, so I felt pretty confident that I'm going to be okay, but we shall see. Anyway, yeah, so I did 2 coats of textured autumn and then the running hot chowder. And I know that Frozen Pond, you can use so many different combinations, but I did see a creator post this and I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And if I remember her name, I will post it up in the video or I will put it in the description somewhere if I can find her again. But yeah, I just thought this was a really interesting combo. So I gave it a try. So now these are going to go into the kiln at cone 6, and I will put my firing schedule in the description below. If you have any questions on that, let me know. But yeah, I'm going to put them in the glaze fire and then I'll show you all of the results. Our mushrooms are out of the kiln. And as you can see behind me, I already have some in a plant. This is my absolute favorite set. This was such a fun project. Now, one set came out as a dud. Won't lie, it's ugly. I don't like it at all. But that's part of the process. That's part of my experimentation that I love doing. So I'm glad that I did it. I won't be doing it again, but I am glad that I did it. But let's start with my absolute favorite set that came out. How cute are they? Now, I won't lie, they're a little bit big for this plant, but I don't care, listen. That's the ting tang that I was talking about. Now, how cute is this? How cute is that? If it will focus, look at that. How cute is that? I think these are so much fun, and you definitely can make them, well, you can make them bigger or you can make them smaller. I mean, I think this set probably could be a little bit smaller for this plant, but I'm going to leave those in there because I think they're so cute. And I think each one of my houseplants is going to get a set of these because they're just too cute. And they're just so cute. Anyway, let's go through all of our colors that we did. So that was the dragon red with the white bead glaze. This is the King's Blue. Now this is the dud. This is the one that I think is the dud myself. So let me just put them on the little sticks here. Now this is the King's Blue with the blue bead glaze and yellow yellow bead glaze. Hold on, let it focus here. Now, some may like this, but I do not. It did not do what I wanted it to do. I think what I was wanting it to do was like mesh together and maybe create some different colors, or yeah, I didn't expect it to stay blue and yellow. And I think that's where the mistake is. These all seem to like be quite opaque, so they do stay with the colors that they're at. But if you can see here, they just kind of, yeah, just went yellow and blue blobs. And I don't like it. But my daughter seems to think that they're great. So whatever. If she likes it, I'm happy. Then these are the Celadons. Now, again, like I said, I could be wrong, but I am pretty sure that when you add Celadon to the bead glazes, they are dinnerware safe. Okay, so this is me. I'm doing a little bit of editing, and I just did my own little research, which is very important to always keep up with research. Key, important. I made a comment that I thought if you added Celadons that these glazes could be dinnerware safe. Incorrect. They're still not dinnerware safe. They're food safe, they are non-toxic, but they should always be used on the outside of functional pieces, not on the inside. Celadon regardless. So keep that in mind. I was incorrect, but I am not above saying that I am incorrect. I was incorrect, so just please keep that in mind, that these will never ever be dinnerware safe. Anyway, enjoy, thank you. And again, please tell me if I am wrong, but I am pretty sure, because they are food safe glazes. And the only reason that they're not dinnerware safe is because of the texture that they create. But putting them on this Celadon, they are completely smooth. Completely smooth. Because like I said, I've never tried them on a Celadon, so I didn't know what they were gonna do. So let me show you the snow and pastel, or turquoise. Snow and turquoise mushrooms. How pretty are those? Look at the texture in there. Well, it's not texture, it's, like I said, it's completely smooth. Completely smooth. But look at all those details in there. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. And well, some of them, they don't ting-tang like I wanted them to, as good as I wanted them to. I think if I took a little bit more time to really hone the shape, like this shape works the best. This really long cone, it works the best. So keep that in mind. If you watch this before you make them, the longer the cone, the better the ting-tang, okay? Tip. But look how pretty these are. I think these are beautiful. The color on these are absolutely beautiful, and yeah, I can't wait to stick these in a plant. So then the next one, so that was snow and turquoise. This one is Snapdragon and pastel blue. And again, I've never used Snapdragon before, so I'm interested to play with it a little bit more, but look at those. Oh, I think they're beautiful. Look at the texture on that. Not texture, they're nice and smooth. But like, look at all these little details in there. So like I said, I did 2.5. So I did 2 full coats on the whole thing, and then I went to only about here with another coat. So you can see there's more definition where I was thicker with the bead glaze, and there's less where I wasn't. But oh, I love them. How cute are those? I love these. I think they're so cute. So, so cute. Now this last one is a frozen pond. And I am so excited to experiment more with frozen pond, because these came out, wow, these came out way better than I expected. And I cannot believe that it is taking me this long to even want to try the frozen pond. Because I won't lie, I was totally turned off by it. I was like, nope, I don't want to do that. Why? I don't know why. Look at those. How beautiful are these? Like, look at that. How beautiful are these? This is such a hard part of the video to film. Like, look at how cute they are. I gotta get my face out of here. Hold on. How beautiful are those? And see, they'll totally ting-tang better with the long cone is the shape that you want. Like, how pretty are these? Oh, like, look at that. I just think these are so, so pretty. My little is here. Maybe she'll tell you what her favorite one is. Do you want to tell us what your favorite, tell me what your favorite one is? Which one is your favorite?
The teal ones are my very favorite.
The snow.
Yeah, so then they just like...
Come on.
That make me good.
Yeah, the ting-tang.
That's how you just like do.
Yeah, we'll put them in the plants later.
Oh, then why is there some already in the plant?
Because I put those in there.
Then what? Then why do we put them in there?
Because that's what they're for. They're for decorating your plants.
And then you make ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
Yes. All right, she went back to play. Anyway, I think that this was such a fun project. It was so quick, so easy, so simple, and you definitely, like I mentioned at the beginning, you could definitely do this with air dry clay. Now, I also don't think that the ting tang will be as good with air dry clay, but I think, yeah, it would still be fun. And they'd still be decorative. You definitely wouldn't be able to use the bead glazes, obviously, with air dry clay, but you could paint it however you wanted. But yeah, I think that was one of the funnest projects I have done. I'm just so happy with my little mushrooms. I just think they are so, so cute and so fun, and I cannot wait to put these in the rest of my plants. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, please drop them down in the comments and I will answer them as best I can. If you've made these little mushrooms, let me know, or post a video of your making these videos so that we can all watch and like and share your stuff as well. And anyway, like I just said, please do all the things. Like, share, subscribe to my channel if you do enjoy my content. And otherwise, I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.